Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And just like that, a fight that looked dead and buried has been dug up. Joyce, Joseph Parker has been confirmed. So cross-promotional issues, which is the bane of boxing, have been sorted out here. And this fight has been announced for September the 24th. So the tagline, as you can see here, nowhere to run. So you got to congratulate the promoters for putting this on, because generally when you've got different promoters, different broadcasters in play with different deals with their respective boxers, basically this never happens. Unless there's a purse bid situation, which there has not been. So they've managed to work out all the normal BS that prevents fights like this happening, and it's on. So I never thought this was going to happen, so I'm happy to be wrong on this, because it's a very good fight, a 50-50 sort of fight. It is very important for both their careers. Joyce, a rising contender, Joseph Parker looking to go back to the mountaintop. Both need this fight, both need the win. We'll come to a few more thoughts in a moment, but the press release, so the tagline, nowhere to run. This is going to be, as it says, live on BT Sport Box Office, promoted by Frank Warren for Queensbury Promotions in association with Boxer. So what that association is with Boxer in terms of this fight, it's unclear. We'll probably never know all the ins and outs, but they've clearly had to give something here, because obviously they initially wanted the fight on Sky, which is the platform that Boxer does put shows on for. But Frank Warren, he's got the fight, it's on pay-per-view, and this will be in pay-per-view in New Zealand as well, and I'm sure maybe some other places, who knows. But it goes on to say the heavyweight collision between number 1 and number 2 in the WBO rankings, as well as being rated number 2 and number 3 by the WBC, will represent a shootout to determine who will be made the mandatory challenger for the winner of the forthcoming rematch between Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua. And I do have no doubt that the WBO will confirm that the winner will become the mandatory challenger. Remembering at the moment there is no mandatory, despite previous claims for about a year and a half that Joyce is the mandatory. Joyce is just the top-rated contender in the WBO. It hasn't been called. But getting past some of this other stuff, down to the comments. You've got Frank Warren here saying this is a fantastic fight that really keeps the heavyweight ball rolling. It has proved to be a little while in the making, but this is a match between two in-form quality heavyweights fighting to be the first in the queue for the world title shot. And I'll just jump in there, because I'm not sure that the winner of this will be first in the queue, because at the moment, we have the champion Alexander Usyk. People forget he was the WBO mandatory, and that was Joshua's last fight. Joshua had the 3 belts. It's a 3-title belt rotation. The WBO mandatory was just had. Prior to that, it was the IBF, and all the way back in 2018, it was the WBA. So I'm not so sure selling it as the next guy to fight the winner is entirely accurate, because I think there's going to be some shenanigans. We shall see. But Frank Warren continues, it's one the fans want to see, so I'm delighted to be taking this blockbuster fight to Manchester, the biggest indoor arena in the country, which we want to see packed to the rafters. Joseph Parker is obviously a well-known and highly respected fight figure over here in the UK, both for his exploits in the ring and him working alongside Tyson Fury up in Morecambe. He also looks a greatly improved heavyweight since teaming up with Andy Lee, and his defeat of Derek Chisora last time out was a comprehensive one. And of Joyce, he says, this is the perfect test for Big Joe's World Championship credentials, and victory over Parker would propel him to the top echelons of the division, and right in the mix with the likes of Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. Well, I do think it would propel him into the status of being a true contender, because at this point you've got some decent wins on the resume, but some of the more recent ones have been against guys that have been a bit faded. But against a prime Joseph Parker, who has looked improved in his most recent fight, if he beats Parker, I think that does cement him as a man on the rise and as a contender of note. Maybe not quite at Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk type level, but certainly within that next group. This would cement his place in the queue of the contenders that are chasing it right behind. Joe Joyce says this fight has been a long time in the making. Parker realized he had nowhere else to go and eventually had to take this fight. Number 1 versus number 2. The winner goes on to fight the world title for the world title. It's going to be a cracking fight, and you will see why he tried so hard to avoid me. And maybe actually there's something in that there was nowhere else to go, because this could have been, and probably was, the biggest money option available. But Boxer and BT getting it over the line, or Frank Warren and Queensbury with Boxer and Sky coming to some sort of arrangement, fantastic. Parker, he says, on Saturday, September 24th, the fans in Manchester will see the very best of me. Joe Joyce will see exactly why I will become the heavyweight champion of the world again with Boxer. I'm working hard with my trainer Andy Lee, everything's going smoothly, and I truly feel great. I've waited patiently to get this fight on, and let me tell you now, the Juggernaut's journey ends right here. He has nowhere to run. And then we have Boxer CEO and founder Ben Shalom saying the fans have waited for this one, and so has Joseph. It provides him with the perfect opportunity to realize his world title aspirations, or ambitions I should say. He has rightly earned a reputation as one of the most respected heavyweight fighters on the planet, and I'm confident he will soon become a world champion again. He's looked in great shape thanks to the hard work and dedication he is putting in at the gym. Joe Joyce might be ranked number 1 in the WBO, but he is seriously in for the toughest night of his career. And I think probably it will be the toughest night of Joe Joyce's career, because I think Joseph Parker has a bit more left in the tank than some of those sort of build-up fights that Joyce has had. Remembering you've had the likes of Bryant Jennings, Carlos Takam, but some of these guys have been of that mold where they're sort of on the downslide of their career. Parker is not. The guy is, 30, 31 years old. He's still got something in the tank. He has looked better since linking up with Andy Lee, and we saw that in the second fight with Derek Chisora. And Frank Warren's noted the improvement. Ben Shalom says he's improving. And for Parker, this is kind of, right now for his career, pretty much the biggest moment that he could hope to get at this stage, because he kind of has been waiting and watching, and in recent years before the Chisora fights, not really being up to much. He had a couple of tune-ups after his losses to Dillian White and Anthony Joshua, pretty nondescript sort of fights, fought Junior Farr in a pretty messy sort of affair, arguably lost to Chisora, and then decisively beat him when they ran it back. Off the fight itself, I think many of us will probably know that Parker is the more sort of silky boxer. He's faster than Joyce. That's not hard. I think a lot of people will see this fight panning out probably with Joseph Parker sweeping quite a few of the early rounds behind his movement, his activity, his volume, using his speed advantages. But with Joe Joyce, and we've seen this before, he can kind of just grind you down. He will keep coming. And I seriously think that this fight will come down to work rate, because Joseph Parker does have a tendency in the past to have slowed down in the mid to later rounds, kind of goes on an energy sort of conservation mode, and it will finish sort of stronger. He does pace himself. But with the link up with Andy Lee, does he have more gas in his tank? He has spoken before about some of the training, especially the cardio, not just in the gym, but the road work and all the sort of stuff that he's doing to keep his fitness up and to levels that he has never been at before. And because he has been keeping himself in better shape in the past couple of years, instead of sort of yo-yoing up 20 or 30 pounds after a fight sort of thing, he has been noticing the benefits of his consistent training and eating between fights and keeping himself in tip-top condition. So we could see Joseph Parker maybe with a bit more gas in the tank. Maybe he can foot it with Joyce for longer in terms of being the guy that's got the speed advantage and throwing more punches. And if he's able to basically catch Joyce and rack up rounds, he could potentially build a pretty healthy lead in the fight. But as I say, Joyce, he keeps coming. He is the juggernaut. We have seen him hurt once before to the body against Bryant Jennings, but Jennings couldn't take advantage. And part of that was Joyce with his volume, which is almost like a form of defense, coming forward, juggernaut mode, wearing you down. And that is what Joseph Parker is going to have to try to combat in this fight with Joyce. When Joyce keeps coming, how's Parker going to react? Is he going to hold up to it? Is he going to be able to keep boxing and moving? Will he start to wilt under the pressure from Joyce? And this is what makes it such an interesting fight. So I like it. I'll leave it there. But I'm still surprised and a bit shocked that it's actually made all together. Hauled myself out of bed at 11:30 p.m. to make this video once I saw the press release, and I was like, well, I gotta do something on it. And I'll hold my hand up and say, look, I was wrong. I thought this fight was dead and buried, but it's on. So credit to everyone involved for getting this over the line. They really do deserve a bouquet. It's easy to throw out the brickbats when things go wrong, and I did at the time, and there was plenty of blame to go around for everyone involved at that point in time. But everyone deserves their flowers now for getting this one made. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.